Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Adi Klevit here with the System Simplified podcast, where we interview top entrepreneurs, founders, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And this podcast is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group. At Business Success Consulting Group, we create custom processes and tailor-made business systems so businesses can thrive and grow. All right, and today's guest is Urmila Ratnam. Hi, Urmila.
Hi, Adi.
Great to have you here.
Lovely to be here today.
Yeah, and Urmila is the CEO of Alima Pure, which is a clean cosmetic line company. So you actually manufacture it and distribute.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and it's a great brand. I mean, I got introduced to Alima Pure, I think about 10 years ago, or about 7, something like that, by my sister-in-law. She found this natural cosmetic company, clean color cosmetic company, and she recommended it to myself, my mother-in-law. We all started using it, and we've been fans ever since. So I am so delighted to be able to interview you because I love your products. They're just amazing. So for our listeners, go check it out. Alima Pure, really amazing brand. And the story behind it is incredible. It's really about helping people live a better, natural, healthy life. And it's also about contributing. You are actually, Alima Pure is a big corporation.
Yes, we are. We're the first color cosmetics brand to become a certified B Corporation, making that commitment to people and planet in addition to profit.
That's incredible. And we're going to talk about that because that is definitely an accomplishment and an achievement. So well done.
Thank you.
And we're going to talk about scaling a business, processes, surviving the pandemic, looking to a bright future ahead, and so on. But first, let's talk about your journey. You have a great journey. You started as a consultant and then you became the CEO. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's been, one of those journeys that nobody sets out necessarily to, or at least I certainly did not, to be CEO of a color cosmetics brand. My background is in international business development and international markets. I grew up in India and Europe and worked promoting international trade, moved to the US and started a consulting business, and worked with, many different kinds of businesses over the years. Got introduced to the founder of Alima Pure, Kate O'Brien, about 12 years ago, actually, at a business networking luncheon, and we immediately hit it off. I was so impressed with the values that Kate used to found her business. It was not just about creating another makeup brand, because there are, thousands of makeup brands on the planet. It was about trying to do something different and impactful, while, of course, providing, clean, high performance color cosmetics using the best ingredients that she could find. And those core brand values, that commitment to sustainability, the planet, environmental stewardship, using only the highest quality non-toxic ingredients, and having an inclusive shade range. All of that spoke to me so much. And so initially I consulted for Kate to help her, with the growth of the brand. And then she wanted me to come in-house and join the journey. And so I did. And then, it's 10 years now for me officially in-house at Alima Pure, and I've loved every minute.
That's fantastic. That's a great story, definitely. So tell me, I know we spoke before, and processes. Let's talk about processes in terms of I know you're very process oriented, and as a CEO of a company that is a growing company, it's on the smaller side, but it's growing. It's definitely, you have your hands in a lot of departments, a lot of aspects. You have to, right? When you are growing a business. And what is your take on the importance of processes to grow a business?
Well, I think a business is all about establishing sort of a really trusted relationship with your customer, right? And in order to do that, that means you are delivering exactly what you promised over and over again on repeat. In order to achieve that sort of consistent product or service, whatever it might be that you're doing, you have to have processes. Processes are the thing that are the underpinning for making sure that things are done the way that you want them to be done every single time, whoever might be actually implementing those. And I think, that's where everything starts. Even if it's two people in a lab forming, creating some product, once you determine exactly how that's going to be made, you have to document that. You have to make it something that's replicable. And then you have to revisit and iterate and improve over time.
Absolutely. So when you came into Alima Pure, did you have those processes already? Were the processes already in place? So did you help establish them?
So there were several processes that were already in place for sure, but things have changed. We've grown since during my time at Alima, and processes are only as good as the people who use them, how you train new employees, and not everything scales in a linear fashion. And some, certain practices take you up to a certain threshold. And after that, you actually have to maybe do a step function change or completely reevaluate the systems that you need going forward. So we still have some of our heritage processes. Everything builds on what we know works, but we also are constantly reviewing and revising. And what I find really interesting for me in my role is to be speaking to those who are on the front lines doing different things and getting their input on what they think is working, where are the opportunities, what might the pain points be, and then looking for the next solution.
Absolutely. And I think that's so important to actually listen, hear, observe, go and inspect, right? Ask the right questions, because the people that are actually doing the process are those that know.
Yes, absolutely. And they are the ones who can really provide that input. And I often, will frame it as I don't actually know how to do this. So, train me, show me what you're doing. And coming in with that somewhat novice approach from my side and playing dumb or really being dumb about it, because I'm not the one doing that particular process, can kind of lead to a really interesting dialogue between the person who's been doing it all the time and expert, and then the questions that you might ask as somebody who's not doing that. And that combination, I think, reveals what's really successful, why something's working, or was there something that perhaps one hadn't considered that needs to be, standardized or changed.
So true. So true. So how do you use processes in order to onboard and train new employees? My question was, so let me just think, okay, 321, we need to cut that one. So here we go. So how do you use processes and procedures in the onboarding and training new employees?
So we do have documented SOPs, for I would say pretty much every aspect of our operations. And from that, we sort of extract, create a training process of what happens, the first, say, week or two of onboarding, what comes later after certain skills are developed, and various checkpoints to make sure that a new hire is getting all the support that they need. So that's the initial stage of, and then after that it iterates over time.
Right. I always like to say, no, it's either a people or process problem, right? Because if something doesn't go right, then it's either you don't have the right people in the right seat, but I always like to start with the process. Is there a process or written procedure for it, or is there not? If they're not, then we need to create one. If there is, then you start asking those questions, right? In terms of was the process followed? And if not, why not? And really asking those questions, as you mentioned, asking and tell me, what do you see? What's the story? What happened here, etc. And really digging into in order to find out what's the real reason, the real why behind it, so we can actually fix that.
Absolutely. And the thing is that even with, well-documented process and breaking down every step, what you find is when somebody starts to do a particular job or task on repeat, they might make certain refinements because they find that it works better, either better for them or in general. But that doesn't always get captured. It's really hard. One doesn't even realize that you have now tweaked this just a little bit. But that has not been documented we haven't updated that SOP. One, is it validated as an improvement that we want to standardize now? And then how do you bring that forward? So it's something that one has to be conscious of, and we just have to, collaboratively speak about it with the team. In fact, we're going into this fall season where we do a lot of our business planning ahead for next year. Well, I'm going to be kicking off sort of a review with the different parts of the team on all of our SOPs, and really trying to update and capture the things that maybe we've changed that we have not actually documented.
Right. And that is really such an important part of making sure that the processes and procedures are being followed by all, is keeping them alive, continue to review them, right? So there is always, people are aware what they are, they change, things change. Right. And you have to make sure that they are constantly being evaluated. I mean, I can see it in my own company, even, something that was correct 4 months ago, we might have changed something, made it more efficient. But then if we don't go back and document it, I mean, we try to document it as the change happens, right? Because that's the real time to change it. But it's good to do this little housekeeping of seeing where your procedures are at, to make sure that they're actually up to date and there isn't anything that is obsolete and that is being utilized. So absolutely.
Yeah, these systems are living, breathing things. I mean, they should be, otherwise they're really not very useful to us, right? Because we're changing all the time. And if sometimes when something goes wrong, if there is an error that is unexpected, that can be actually a gift, because it's giving you a chance to evaluate either, the process was there, but it wasn't followed. Was it not followed for a particular reason? Was there, a rush, in which case do we need to have a sort of a secondary process or a fail-safe? So those key learning moments can also be something that gives you that opportunity to review and improve. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Let's talk now about the pandemic. I know that we met just before, and I know you had like this amazing growth. It's like, I think we actually met in the fall of 2019.
Right.
Just before the pandemic, we didn't know that's going to happen, right? And you told me about all this wonderful expansion. You're looking at automation, you're looking at new systems. It was just like all this like beautiful expansion, and then 2020 hit, right? Then the pandemic hit. So how was it for you?
That's a big question. It was, well, of course, a shock to the system on every level. I mean, initially, the focus as a leader of a small company is to make sure that you can keep operations going, that you can keep the team whole. So you sort of have to take a step back and say, what are, the critical things that you need to focus on right now? So we did take a pause on the big growth plans, and it was really about how can we make, our way through this just even as we are. And fortunately, we were able to navigate that because we're a small team, really, and quite nimble, and we happen to have a physical space that's relatively large because we were planning for growth. It's not that we were, there was any sort of genius behind or special insight that we had, but given that we were planning for growth, we had a large space, a small team, so we were able to sort of distance and spread out even further, maintain all the safety protocols for pandemic and continue operations uninterrupted. And that was a huge relief. But that was, so the first quarter, once after pandemic, so that would be the second quarter of 2020, it was really about making sure that we come up with our new cadence, our new systems, our new ways of working, especially with our entire marketing team moving remote. There's a whole set of new systems that come into place. How do you check in with people when you don't have those casual daily interactions when you're all under the same roof? But after that, we, found our new rhythm. And tiny as we are as a company, we do have, an international customer base. And that too has turned out to be a gift. Because the pandemic had sort of a rolling impact, different cadence in different markets when things were really tight. In some places, we were able to see that certain things were opening up in other parts of the world. And so we were able to continue, having that revenue stream and sort of moving forward. And now with a year plus 15 months or however long it's been now, through this, we're starting to feel a little bit better, glimmer of optimism over there and starting to look to the future.
That's great. So what will be some of the decisions that you've made or some of the realization you had about what happened and how can you actually harness it and use it for the best?
Well, a couple of things. One, we really recognize the value of the sort of diverse channel and market presence that we had. I mean, we knew we always wanted to have e-commerce and brick and mortar, even though we were a tiny business, and that takes a lot of, commitment from a budget and a staffing perspective. And there were times where, in the past where we had thought, should we just be all in on one or the other? The pandemic actually clarified things for us dramatically. It was, of course, crucial that one have an e-commerce presence. We were fortunate that that has always been a big part of who we are. But having the sort of a brick and mortar presence has also had its own value. So it, in some ways, it solidified our commitment to some of those channels. And similarly, that having different supplier options, having that redundancy, perhaps having a presence in different markets, all of that gives you the reassurance. Nothing is a guarantee, but that you might be able to make it through a challenging time.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some of your successful ways to interact with a remote team? I know that's a hot topic in terms of how do you manage your remote team?
Well, we've always been a pretty close-knit team, and I think it does help also that we're fairly small. And we've always been a team that loves technology. And, we're all very comfortable with that. So definitely, many virtual meetings, video meetings. And having things like Slack, for example. So the formal and informal check-ins are critical, and flow of communication, shared documents, using any kind of a platform where you can share information with others easily has been even more important to us. And we were never, as a company that is trying to be as sustainable and environmentally responsible as possible, we were not big on paper documentation anyway. So we have a lot of stuff digitally available to us, and all of that has really, really helped keep that going. But yes, we use a lot of platforms to communicate and organize ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. So did you have any team members that came through the pandemic that were just virtual and they never experienced that office environment?
So we actually hired, we had a couple of team members transition out right before the lockdown happened for Oregon last March. And so we hired a couple of people. They've been remote the entire time, and it's only in recent weeks that we've had more in-person interactions as things have opened up a little bit. We still have a lot of the team working remotely, and they will for the foreseeable future. So yes, interviewing and never meeting in person, onboarding, without meeting in person, and then sort of continuing integration. And we've learned a lot. And you realize that you have to have many more sort of conscious touch points and interactions built into your day, because you do miss out on those. Oh, I'm going to grab a cup of coffee. Would you, shall we chat while we do that? That kind of thing that we had when we were under one roof, that doesn't happen. So you have to really make that extra effort.
Yeah, you do. You actually have to have specific processes in order to continue to run the team remotely. It can absolutely be done successfully, but as you said, you have to be very conscientious about the information, the communication, because communication can also be too much. I mean, instead of before you would just say a word, now it becomes a Zoom meeting, and half an hour later you're still on Zoom. So it's
right.
What I found for myself and working with my clients, and talking to other business owners, it's really those lines of communication have to be really well established. I know for myself, and again, from my clients, in terms of like, when do you use Slack? When do you use email? When do you actually text? When do you use the phone? When do you put, when do you have a Zoom call? So you have to, it's a lot of things that we were not used to before, that you have to figure out those systems. So there is agreement and that it works for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is also, easier to then be intrusive or constantly be interrupted in your work processes, because now there are so many ways that somebody can reach you, and you don't have some of those boundaries, and people can't see that you might be, deeply involved in something. So yes, I think it is a balance, and you're constantly learning. But if there is an environment or a culture of trust and openness, it's important, I think, in a leadership position to invite constant feedback and, let people sort of safely tell you, is this working? Is this too much? Oh, I want to be able to connect more, or I'm missing out on this, or what kind of support they need, and what level, how much or how little interaction is appropriate at various points in time.
Very true. Absolutely. So before we come getting to the end of this interview, just wanted to hear your thoughts about leadership and how you lead the team. What leadership style resonates the best with you, and what do you feel like are your strengths as a leader?
Well, I think I'm actually a very good listener, and I think that has always been one of my strengths in life. And my genuine interest in people of all backgrounds, and wanting to just get to know folks, right? That's really been who I am as a person, and I've been able to bring that into my leadership roles over the years. So really connecting, trying to understand who people are as individuals, what excites them about their work, what challenges they want to address, what challenges they need your help with, having those conversations. And I find that actually very rewarding for me personally, to do that. So I would say it's a collaborative style. It's definitely a style, though, where I also really trust in people following through. So, once you've clarified what the expectations are, and you provided people with what they need, and they know that they can reach out to you if they need some help, I believe in letting people sort of, run with it and succeed as well. And definitely don't need my constant interference.
Yes, well, that's beautiful, and that's a great way to lead, and I think it just aligns with everything, with the wonderful brand that you have, the being a certified B Corporation, surviving this pandemic together with your team, and really looking to a really bright future ahead. I can see how it all happens, because you're very confident also in your leadership, in terms of exuding that optimism, which is very important.
Well, I believe in what we do. I believe in our brand and our values. And we've been fortunate enough. I mean, we work really hard to try to put together a team that is here because they're excited about what we're doing. And that's what makes it fun. I mean, we spend so many hours of our days, on our work. And so it's really important that it be something you love to do. And we do try to bring that energy. I try actively to bring that energy to the whole team. We love to get together and brainstorm our goals and our vision for the future. It's not my vision or the company's vision. It's our vision collectively as a team at Alima Pure of what we want to do next. And that's what's exciting. I mean, that's why it's worth getting up and doing it every day.
Absolutely. Wow. Those are amazing words to finish this podcast with. So thank you so much, Urmila, for being a guest.
Thank you, Adi. This was so wonderful chatting with you. Love the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.